You got to stand up. You got to stand up. Let them know you appreciate it. Stand up. Start stopping those bleachers. One. You ready? Come on. Drivers, start your engines. It's rock and roll time for the Comser Verizon Wireless Late Model Division. 100 laps to kick off the NASCAR season for the late models.
Town Bank number 11 up front. Waltz Engineered Sales ready to go. And Matt Waltz in the 2. Those two brightly colored radio station Max Media machines, you know we're proud. 97.3 the Eagle and 92.9 the Wave. Casey Wyatt and Greg Edwards. Once again, Casey had to put in a new rear end in the race car thanks to his competitors helping him out. And got the car through tech. Got it qualified in 4th. Just ahead of Brandon Godovic. K&N regular from last year. And here we go. Karen West waving the green flag from 97.3 the Eagle. The first race in the late model stock cars in the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series at Langley Speedway is underway. Casey Wyatt had a slip at the exit of 2, stacks him up a little bit behind, but a hot race up front as Nick Smith will lead Greg Edwards and Matt Waltz. Lap 1 completed. Again, a great battle for the second spot. Now it's Matt Waltz who tries to challenge for the lead on Nick Smith. Coming up lap 2, Nick Smith with a challenge on the inside by Matt Waltz. Waltz Engineered Sales, number 2, down the bottom of the Town Bank machine. Door-to-door race down the back straightaway for the lead on lap number 3 coming up. Matt Waltz, he hugs the bottom. Nick Smith up on the high side. Here goes Greg Edwards. He'll try and follow Nick through. Down on the bottom, following the tire tracks of the 2 of Matt Waltz. Then it's Brandon Godovic after that side-by-side battle. And Terry Carroll in 5th. And a caution for a spin on the back straightaway. And it involves the 29 who's come to a stop. And also 2 other cars involved as it gets spun around on the back straightaway. And this first caution flag comes out on lap number 3. Robert Bruce didn't get slowed up in time and bashed in the front end of his bumper and hood. The 83, Jeremy Grogg, is involved. And I can't quite make out the other car. And I do believe it is the 38 of Dwayne Shreves is the other car involved. Robert Bruce brings his car down pit road. Damage on the front end where he got into the 83 of Jeremy Grogg, who was stopped. Gary Weeks, also the 20, is on pit road. Started the race in the 10th position. So they'll get the cars off the back straightaway, and we should be underway in just a few laps. One lap. Who's going to take the cone? Who's it going to be? Greg stays behind the 2. Nick Smith will try it on the outside. So will the 55 of Mark Wirtz. Casey Wyatt will stay to the inside. Justin Carroll, the 91, will try it on the outside of the cone. And once again, if you're new to Langley Speedway, the cone rule is in effect. And that means anybody behind the leader can choose to go to the outside if they want to. But it's a little risky, especially if your car's not that fast, because you can get freight train down on the inside. Matt Waltz about to lead them back to the green as the pace truck comes down pit road, back underway. It's lap number 3, Langley Speedway for 2014. NASCAR Whelen All-American Series side-by-side for the lead, Nick Smith and the 2 of Matt Waltz. The 55, Mark Wirtz, gets tucked in line right behind Greg Edwards, the 97.3, the Eagle car. Greg applies pressure to the back end of the two of Matt Waltz, but he's got his hands full with Nick Smith on the outside. Great three-way battle for the lead between Matt Waltz, Nick Smith, and Greg Edwards. Casey Wyatt down to the inside of the 91 of Justin Carroll. And Danny Edwards in his rearview mirror. Meanwhile, back up front, Greg Edwards makes the pass on Nick Smith. He's up to second. 3 car lengths behind Matt Waltz. Now it's Mark Wirtz who goes underneath Nick Smith. Mark Wirtz trying to get the 3rd spot away from Nick. And Brandon Godovic in the 46. Terry Carroll, his Chevrolet, the Carroll's Automotive Machine, the 90 all over the back end of the 46 of Brandon Godovic. Meanwhile, Danny Edwards makes the move on the 91 of Justin Carroll and makes the pass. It is Matt Waltz, Greg Edwards, Nick Smith, Mark Wirtz, and Brandon Godovic, the top 5. Then Terry Carroll, Casey Wyatt, Danny Edwards, Justin Carroll, and Rodney Boyd in the 9. Rick Godovic, 64. Gary Weeks in the 20. Jeremy Grogg and Robert Bruce are out. Mark Wirtz looks like he might be holding up Brandon Godovic a little bit. Brandon sneaks down on the inside. The Winsacks 46. Terry Carroll is there in the 90 and Casey Wyatt all over his back bumper. 10 laps completed out of 100 here at Langley Speedway. Brandon Godovic doing all he can to get on the bottom of the racetrack and make the move on Mark Wirtz in the Dunkin' Donuts 55. And if he gets by, Terry Carroll's going to come with him, and so will Casey Wyatt in the 92.9 The Wave car. 11 laps completed. Matt Waltz showing the way, 2 car lengths ahead of the 97.3 The Eagle car of Greg Edwards. About 6 to 7 car lengths back to Nick Smith, and almost a full straightaway back to Brandon Godovic, who was finally able to get by Mark Wirtz. Terry Carroll now tries to do it. Terry down on the bottom, Mark Wirtz on the high side. They race for 5th. Close contact, close quarters here between the 90 and the 55. Terry Carroll completes the pass on Mark Wirtz. Now here goes Casey Wyatt trying to get on the bottom and get to the inside of Mark Wirtz. Danny Edwards getting back up to speed. He made the pass on the 91 of Justin Carroll. Now closes in on Casey Wyatt in the 92, who's trying to get by Mark Wirtz. Tight racing here between Brandon Godovic in 4th and 5th. Terry Carroll 6th. Mark Wirtz in 7th. Casey Wyatt in 8th. Danny Edwards in the 91 of Justin Carroll, all nose to tail. Matt Waltz maintains the lead, but not by much. Greg Edwards now closes in, dives to the bottom of the racetrack, tries to make the move on Waltz. Wirtz back there. He's being hounded by the 92 of Casey Wyatt. Little contact being made. Greg Edwards says, "I'm coming through," gets on the inside. They challenge for the lead. Door to door now between turns 1 and 2. Greg Edwards on the bottom. Matt Waltz on the high side in the 2. Still door to door, racing each other hard for that lead. This allows the 11 of Nick Smith to close up just a bit. And Greg Edwards makes the pass. New leader, Greg Edwards, the 97.3 The Eagle car. Pulls ahead by 2 car lengths on the 2 of Matt Waltz. 3 car lengths now back to the 11 of Nick Smith. Brandon Godovic now trying to hold on to that position over the Carroll's Automotive number 90 of Terry Carroll in 5th. And Mark Wirtz, he stays ahead of the 92.9 The Wave machine of Casey Wyatt. Casey being very patient, but staying on the inside. Now looks again, but Mark Wirtz closes the door every time at the exit of 4. Pulls right in front of Casey. "22 laps completed." Casey Wyatt gets the nose of his car on the inside of the 55 of Mark Wirtz. Mark knows he's there now at the exit of 2. They challenge each other, racing door to door. The 92 now even with the 55 of Mark Wirtz, and makes the pass at the exit of 4. Casey Wyatt moves up. Greg Edwards still maintains about a 3.5 car length advantage over the 2 of Matt Waltz. Then 2 car lengths back to the 11 Town Bank machine of Nick Smith. Brandon Godovic in the 46 and 4th. Terry Carroll still all over his back bumper in 5th. Then Casey Wyatt 6th. Mark Wirtz, the 55 7th. Justin Carroll 8th in the 91. The 56 of Danny Edwards. Gary Weeks in the 20. Rodney Boyd in the 9. And he's 11th. Rick Godovic, 64, is 12th. 2 cars out, Jeremy Grogg and Robert Bruce. 38, Dwayne Shreves. He also is out, but not shown on the scoreboard. I guess his transponder got knocked off. Terry Carroll driving a great race tonight, qualified very well. He's currently up there in 5th, challenging for 4th with Brandon Godovic, and Godovic maintains that position for now, but both he and Casey Wyatt trying to make the move. A little bit past 1/4 of this race, trying to get to lap 100. 1 caution flag so far. That happened on the 3rd lap on the back straightaway with the 83 of Jeremy Grogg, 29 Robert Bruce, and 38 Dwayne Shreves. With no caution flag since then, and it's lap 28. Terry Carroll has been very patient, trying to get around Brandon Godovic in the 46, the Winsacks, number 46. But as the laps wind down, the patience will run out. Carroll again nudges the 46 of Brandon Godovic. Now down the front straightaway, looks again on the inside. Godovic gives him room on the bottom. Casey Wyatt will try and follow him through the 92. Godovic looking strong on the outside, but Terry hanging tough down on the bottom of the racetrack. Was almost halfway up next to him, falling back again. Now follows the tire tracks of Godovic in 4th. Leaders making their way down the front straightaway. Greg Edwards. 3-time Langley Speedway champion from Poquoson, Greg Edwards, 5 to 6 to 7 car lengths now as he stretches it out over the 2 of Matt Waltz. Same distance back, just about, or maybe a little bit more, back to the 11, the Town Bank 11 of quick Nick Smith. Little traffic jam here between Brandon Godovic, Terry Carroll, and Casey Wyatt. That is for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Well, Terry knows if he doesn't get going quick, Casey's going to get a little impatient and try and pass him for that 5th position. Closes up again on the back bumper of Terry Carroll. He now looks on the inside of the racetrack to get the move on the 90. Nudges him, lets him know, I'm back here, buddy, coming through. These 2 racing, allowing Godovic to get away just a little bit in the 46. Casey Wyatt glued to the inside of the 90 of Terry Carroll. Finally is able to get to the inside and make the move. Terry lets him go. Mark Wirtz next to challenge the 90 of Terry Carroll in the 55. Greg Edwards leads in the 97-3, the Eagle car with 2 Waltz Engineered Sales, number 2. Matt Waltz in 2nd. Nick Smith, Town Bank number 11, 3rd spot. Brandon Godovic, the Winsacks 46. Casey Wyatt, the 92-9, the Wave car, 5th. Terry Carroll, the Carroll's Automotive, number 90 in 6th. Dunkin' Donuts, 55. Mark Wirtz in 7th. Justin Carroll, the Carroll's Automotive, 91 in 8th. Danny Edwards, the Danny's Glass, and Dunkin' Donuts, 56. Gary Weeks in the 20, Rodney Boyd in 11th, and Rick Godovic in 12th in 64. Field getting strung out just a little bit, except for the races between the 46 of Brandon Godovic, Casey Wyatt, Terry Carroll, Mark Wirtz, and the 91 of Justin Carroll, then Danny Edwards in the 56. That is for 4th on back to 9th. Casey closing in on the 46 for that 4th position. 41 laps completed for the ComServe Verizon Wireless 100-lap late model stock car race, NASCAR Wheeling All-American Series here at Langley Speedway in Hampton. Justin Carroll looks like he's closing in on the back end of the Dunkin' Donuts 55 of Mark Wirtz. Mark Wirtz, former Langley Speedway champion. Biggest battle on the racetrack between the 92 and the 46. Casey Wyatt trying to get around Brandon Godovic to take over 4th. Greg Edwards still has about a 7-car length advantage to the 2 of Matt Waltz, who's in 2nd. About a half a straightaway back, you'll find the 11 of Nick Smith. Then the hot battle between Brandon Godovic, the 92, the 90 of Terry Carroll, the Mark Wirtz 55, Justin Carroll, and Danny Edwards. Greg looks ahead. He sees that Danny is the next person in his windshield. So a fast pace being set by Greg Edwards, as we've only had that 1 caution flag for those 3 cars: Jeremy Grogg, Robert Bruce, and Dwayne Shreves. Casey Wyatt definitely gets moving through the center of the corner as he tries to catch up on the 46 of Brandon Godovic. Definitely rolling through the corner nicely. 48 laps completed. Greg Edwards leads Matt Waltz, Nick Smith, Brandon Godovic, and Casey Wyatt the top 5. Rodney Boyd, he slips up a little bit that time in the 9 machine. He's back in 12th position. Rodney is 2 laps down. "50 laps completed." We're halfway through this event with Greg Edwards showing the way. Greg Edwards starting to reel in some of this traffic here. The Dunkin' Donuts 56 of Danny Edwards in jeopardy of going a lap down. Rodney Boyd shows good sportsmanship, stays on the bottom of the racetrack as the faster cars on the lead lap go by. Greg Edwards about to get into some traffic here. And here goes Danny Edwards. He slips up high in turn number 4. The 2 of Matt Waltz makes the pass. Danny Edwards, who was back there in 9th position, just about lost it. Kept it off the wall, though. Did a great job of driving to keep it off the wall, but that was close. That allowed Greg to get by. Also, Matt Waltz and Danny Edwards Jr. has gone a lap down. Nick Smith unable to capitalize on that. He's still about a half a straightaway back to the 2 of Matt Waltz, who remains in 2nd in car 2. Promoco Auto Group night at the races at Langley Speedway, the NASCAR Wheeling All-American Series, and the late model stock cars brought to you this year by ComServe Verizon Wireless. Lap 56. Greg Edwards starting to put the moves on some very fast cars. Was able to get by Danny after Danny slipped between 3 and 4. Danny Edwards back in 9th position in the 56, the backup car for Mark Wirtz. And Danny hoping to get his 26 back out here. Casey Wyatt still working on the 46 of Brandon Godovic as they get around Gary Weeks and Rick Godovic. Rick Godovic looks like his car is really loose. The back end of the car wants to kick sideways every time he goes in the turns, which could be a little tricky for some of those guys on his outside. One caution flag, and that happened on lap 3. None since. And that's quite all right if you ask Greg Edwards, who's out front. The 97.3, the Eagle car, and looking good. Closes up on the 64 of Rick Kadovic. Matt Waltz trying to reel him in, and he's done a good job to close the gap. There's about 3 car lengths now between those two. Now make it 2.5. As Greg gets caught behind Kadovic at the exit of turn number 4. Well, the back end of that 64, Rick Kadovic really slings it sideways when he gets down into turn number 1 and tries to pinch that car down. Looks like he's either fighting a really loose condition or a very tight one, trying to break it loose. 62 laps completed. A lot of traffic between second spot and third spot. There are 4 cars that separate second back to the third spot where Nick Smith is in the Town Bank number 11. And that includes the 91 of Justin Carroll, 64 Rick Kadovic, the 56 of Danny Edwards, and the 20 of Gary Weeks, although Nick Smith has been able to get by Danny and Gary Weeks. Casey Wyatt still doing all he can to reel in the 46 of Brandon Kadovic for that 4th position. 4th being held by Brandon. Brandon won a K&N East Series race last year, raced in that series the last couple of years, and is going to be racing some years in the near future right here at Langley Speedway on and off. Casey closing in again on the 46, trying to take that position away. He knows Greg's coming. The 90 of Terry Carroll just outside the top 5 is about to go a lap down as Greg gets by to the outside at the exit of 4. Casey Wyatt applies the horn to the 46 of Brandon Kadovic and says, "We gotta go." He will nudge you now between 3 and 4. Trying to get to the bottom to make the pass in the 46. He doesn't want to race him too much because he knows Greg's coming. Does not want to go a lap down. 68 laps completed. Racing just ahead of the leader, it's the 46 and the 92.9 Wave machine of Casey Wyatt. The Chevrolet trying to get by Kadovic. Greg Edwards about 5 to 6 car lengths ahead of the 2 of Matt Waltz. Nick Smith a full straightaway back in 3rd position. Brandon Kadovic again sees a rear view mirror full of that bright yellow 92 Casey Wyatt, and he has for the last 20 laps. Kadovic still hanging tough though, just ahead of Casey. And Greg is about 10 car lengths back on the back bumper of the 92. This is going to get interesting if Greg's able to catch up to these guys. Here goes Casey again, trying to move him up a little bit, trying to get to the bottom to make the pass. And he does. He's got the nose of his car to the inside of Kadovic now between 1 and 2. This is just ahead of Greg Edwards. Kadovic pinches him down a little bit, stays ahead of Casey. 46 and 92 going at it just ahead of Greg Edwards. Casey with his Max Media teammate, Greg Edwards, the 97.3, the Eagle car. Now 3.5 car lengths back from Casey. "75 laps completed. We've got 25 to go to get to lap 100 at Langley Speedway. And it's a good race between Brandon Kadovic, Casey Wyatt, Greg Edwards. Greg leading the race, and Brandon and Casey trying not to go a lap down. But time is running out, and Greg is catching them fast. Greg gets by the inside of Casey, who lets him go, doesn't want to hold him up any longer than he already did as he tried to make the move on Kadovic. We'll see how easily that Greg gets by Godovic. Goes to the outside to make the move. And so does Matt Waltz. He goes to the outside of Casey Wyatt. .78 laps completed. Greg Edwards leads. Matt Waltz, Nick Smith, Brandon Godovic, and Casey Wyatt top 5. Terry Carroll, Mark Wirtz, Justin Carroll, Danny Edwards, Rick Godovic, Gary Weeks, Rodney Boyd, and the 2 cars out of this event, Jeremy Grogg, Robert Bruce, and make that 3 cars if you count the 38 of Dwayne Shreves. This is lap number 80 up in lights here at Langley Speedway. Greg Edwards looking for his first win of 2014. 3-time Langley Speedway champion, Greg Edwards. Greg from Pocosin, 42 years old. 97.3 the Eagle, Danny's Glass, and Fair Distributing sponsoring the 97. Matt Waltz having a hard time getting around Brandon Godovic to catch the leader of this event. Now he goes to the outside. Godovic slings it wide too that time between turns 1 and 2. Rodney Boyd, he is a few laps down. He's 3 laps down now in the 9 and 12th position. Just a few cars on the lead lap as they've all been able to get by and pass some of these faster cars. Started the race with 15. Greg Edwards still has about a 7 car length advantage over the 2 of Matt Waltz. Nick Smith a full straightaway and a turn back behind the top 2 guys, Greg Edwards and Matt Waltz. Looks like Matt Waltz and Greg Edwards have 2 of the fastest cars here, running some very fast lap times. Greg Edwards had his best lap in lap 8, and Matt Waltz his best lap in lap 6. Field strung out just a bit. Everybody separated by at least 5 to 6 car lengths. And only 1 caution flag, and that happened on lap 3. That ended up taking out 3 cars, Jeremy Grogg, Robert Bruce, and Dwayne Shreves. Looks like 11 laps to go for Greg Edwards. Greg Edwards started the race in 3rd position. That's where he qualified today. Nick Smith started on the pole and held that position for a few laps until Matt Waltz was able to get by. Then Greg able to get by both those guys and take over the lead and has not looked back. Still remains about 6 car lengths ahead of Matt Waltz in the 2. Matt Waltz of Newport News, Waltz Engineering, Davcon. He's got Phil Forbes, Reed and Barton, and the Carmine family. Well, if Matt Waltz has saved anything, now's the time to shine. 4.5 to 5 car lengths back on Greg Edwards. Terry Carroll goes to the outside of Rodney Boyd. Terry currently up there just outside the top 5 in the 6th position. Greg Edwards leads the 97.3 the Eagle car. Matt Waltz in the 2 car in 2nd. The 11 of Nick Smith, 3rd position. Brandon Godovic, the 46. Right here, Rodney Boyd just about slammed the wall at the exit of 4. Casey White in 5th. In the 92.9 the Wave Machine, the Carroll's Automotive. Number 90 of Terry Carroll in 6th. Mark Wirtz, the Dunkin' Donuts 55. In 7th, Justin Carroll, the 91 and 8th. Danny Edwards, the 56 is 9th. Rick Adovic, 64 in the top 10. Then Gary Weeks, Rodney Boyd, Jeremy Grogg, and Robert Bruce and Dwayne Shreve. There will be 3 laps to go for Greg Edwards as he crosses the start-finish line. It's lap 97 for car 97 up in lights. And in the lead ahead of Matt Waltz in that 2. 6 car lengths still separate those two, Greg and Matt. 2 laps to go for Greg. Greg Edwards looking for the first win of 2014. Langley Speedway with Greg Edwards about to win it. White flag is out. 6 car lengths separate those two. The 97.3, the Eagle car up front. 97.3, the Eagle will take the checkered flag with Greg Edwards at the wheel. Matt Waltz finishes in 2nd in car 2. Nick Smith, the 11, in 3rd position. Brandon Godovic, the 46 in 4th. And Casey Wyatt, the 92.9, the Wave car, in 5th. Terry Carroll, the 90 in 6th. Mark Wurtson's up in 7th. Justin Carroll, the 91 8th. Danny Edwards Jr. in 9th. Rick Adovic in the top 10. Gary Weeks, Rodney Boyd, Jeremy Grogg, Robert Bruce, and Dwayne Shreves. The way they finish it up. And Greg Edwards will take the checkered flag here at Langley Speedway as we started the race with 15 race cars this year in the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads the points. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, and Jimmy Johnson.
Courtyard by Marriott and Pepsi presents, of course, the NASCAR Southern Modifieds here at Langley. Ladies and gentlemen, your new winner 2014, Greg Edwards. The ComServe Verizon wireless season is underway, and that 97 car has proven he is going to be one to contend with in 2014. Greg, come on out here, man. James Long, car owner, happy guy here tonight. You had alluded in a news story that, man, you came out and ran like 15 laps and said, we just put this car back in the trailer.
Yeah, it felt the way I wanted it to, and sometimes testing gets overrated because you end up dialing yourself out, and sometimes you might have had a pretty good car and you overthink it and you slow it down. But, I got to thank Charlie High. He went to work on this motor package. It's a kind of new motor package NASCAR came out with last year. And he went to work, and, man, that thing was going down the straightaways in the race. It doesn't put up the numbers in qualifying, but when it comes race time, it was awesome. And got to thank the guys. The car was definitely on point. It was Matt stayed with me. I ran as hard as I could the whole race, and they kept saying he was either gaining a little bit or I'd gain a little bit. So, I know he was driving his hardest, and he's got a great car. So I got to thank 97.3, the Eagle, for coming on again. Danny's Glass, ComServe Wireless for coming on as sponsor. Fair Distributing. Everybody.
I know you haven't had an opportunity to look at the tires, but the 45-50 combo, keeping it here in 2014, something we changed because of the new pavement last year. How do you think the tires did?
It's a great tire. I mean, we could probably switch back to a 45, but these tires are so good, you don't have to buy practice tires. I could take these tires, bring them back next week, and test them just as fast as I was on brand new tires. So for the racer, that makes it cheaper, and that makes it better for everybody.
And Hoosier, I'm sure, is going to love to hear it. Pomoco, peace of mind, of course. And, of course, all of our friends from the Pomoco Auto Group, our congratulations for kicking off a new sponsor in the late models, ComServe Verizon Wireless, and a new winner for 2014 on a big Pomoco Auto Group night. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, the Eagle 97 Chevy Monte Carlo. Give it up, Greg Edwards.